Okay, welcome everybody to our special session about the Nutrametrix division. My name is Don Martin, and I'm a director with Market America Shop.com. I've been, and also a Nutrametrix consultant myself, and I've been with Market America Shop.com since 1999, the late 1900s, I like to say. It'll be 22 years on July 9th for me. And one of the most unique things, a little history about from me, how we got to this point, and then how we decided to bring the guests on that we have, is that, when I started building the business, I started building it organically, like an average unfranchise owner would. And I had a lot of success with that. I probably built up to, I would say, in the national supervising coordinator range. And I did extremely well with that. But what ended up happening was when Nutramet, and I always had health professionals that liked our products and services, but and they loved to use them, but there was some things that would come up that would sometimes prevent them from implementing for a couple different reasons. We'll probably address those during today's session. But when the Nutrametrix division came out, I saw this as a big time answer with health professionals for sure. And I got certified, and I started integrating and implementing Nutrametrix into my business. And, since, I've gone up a couple pin levels. Some of it was definitely from the response that I have from Nutrametrix. I have some great Nutrametrix health professionals in my group. But it was a full spectrum approach. And, but I love the platform. I love the program. So I wanted other people to hear different perspectives than mine that are elite level performers in the Nutrametrix world. And we have two guests today that are amongst the best in the business. And I'm just going to introduce you guys to them, and we're going to I'm going to interview them and ask them some questions. But first we have Rebecca Carfi. She is a supervising coordinator with MarketAmericanShop.com. So that means just in commissions alone, $7,500 to $10,000 in a 4-week pay cycle. She's also been one of the top retailers in the company at the gala you guys have seen at Rewards, and also her and her husband amongst the top and Nutrametrix consultant, was it, or health professional of the year, correct?
Health professional.
Health professional of the year. So they're at the elite pinnacle of what we do and how we do it. So that is our first partner we're going to be interviewing here, along with Lisa Grant. Lisa Grant is a field vice president, an advisory council member, and she really took the Nutrametrix probably more aggressively than almost anybody. And she's a slew of knowledge and information. So these two, I couldn't ask for two better people to be on here to share some of their experiences. So Rebecca, Lisa, very grateful. And I thank you for being on to answer some questions today.
Thank you.
Great, it's a pleasure.
Awesome. So what I'd like to do, just we'll go chronological here. Lisa, I'll start with you with a couple of things, and we'll go to Rebecca, and we'll kind of go back and forth here. But Lisa, can you just kind of share with people a little bit of your history, background, as you started with Market America, and then as it evolved into the Nutrametrix field, or why it evolved into the Nutrametrix world?
Okay, sure. Just heard about it on an airplane almost 25 years ago. I really didn't have an interest because I had done some multi-level marketing companies, worked real hard, wasn't successful, and felt that even though I believed in the network marketing industry, I just lost faith in the multi-level marketing plans. Then this came along, I saw it was radically different, knew that not only I could make money, but others could make money. And that's what drove me to build my business. And like you, was building a great business up to national supervising coordinator, maybe within 4 years of the business, 3 years. And then Nutrametrix comes along years later, and I knew it was going to be big because I knew healthcare professionals were going to have to embrace wellness. At that time, they weren't. And it was a struggle in the beginning. Everyone asks me, what is the right healthcare professional to approach? Because I can't even imagine how many hundreds I have, but hundreds of healthcare professionals in my organization, which makes up a good part of my income. But the right healthcare professional is the one that's going to listen to you. not, I have half of them are medical doctors, the other half are, so half are allied healthcare professionals, the other half are medical healthcare professionals. And, they both do very well. So it depends on the healthcare professional. And if you're approaching them, you approach them all, and the ones that want to listen to you, just like the regular business, are going to be the ones that are going to listen to you. And you just have to present the information professionally. You need to be trained professionally in this. Whereas when I first started with marketamericashop.com, you can kind of fly by the seat of your pants. This particular division, I don't recommend that. I recommend you get the training, because you don't want to ruin this industry by being not as professional as you should be. And that would be taking the 101 and 201 as soon as possible with our company.
I love
So
that.
that's,
No, I love that. So for you, Lisa, when you decided, obviously you had a really successful business up until that, what have you noticed that really, obviously the professional B2B approach, what in that world really attracted you, and what do you see as being something that really has resonated with you and caused a tremendous amount of growth in your business that Nutrametrix provides, kind of independent of all the other majors that we have?
well, there's a lot I could say about that, but I will tell you that when COVID hit, how many companies went down the tubes, how many people lost their jobs. My income just increased, and so did a lot of the people, Rebecca, some of the people in my organization that were working with Nutrametrix, because these websites were already in place. And even if the healthcare professional practices closed down, a lot of them in New York City, the websites were still working. And obviously we have such incredible products and services, and the company went a step further to make more products and services to keep people well during and keep their immune systems going with this terrible virus. So our income increased, and that's been a plus. But again, just in understanding Nutrametrix, let me give you my background so you'll know that anybody can do this. It was a struggle for me. I didn't go to college. I'm not beating myself up over that, but I didn't know one doctor from the next, honestly, when I started. And if you told me a podiatrist, I'd have to look it up. I'm being very honest. But I learned quick, and I decided what I wanted to do. And the training is right now, by far, I think one of the best trainings out there, that and TLS. I think everybody should just take them, just to understand what we have in your pocket, even if it's not something you want to embrace. But that being said, again, I didn't go to college. I barely got out of high school. Not a A student, that's for sure. And I learned this craft. And what I did not know, when I was talking to a healthcare professional, I said, "That's a great question, doctor. I do not know the answer to that, but I will find out for you." So it's, and for the new person that does take the course and still doesn't have the answer, that's your answer. And then you just find out the answer. But any healthcare professional will follow you if you have confidence, and if you make sure that you let them know that you're there for them, you're serious about what you do, and you'll get those answers, and you're going to help them build out a business with Nutrametrix.
I love that. I think one of the most important points that you just said, that you alluded to, and I just wanted to emphasize it to everybody that's listening, is that Lisa said, oftentimes she didn't have the answer, but she always was able to go get it. She was able to leverage and utilize third party. And I think the utilization of third party, and particularly in the Nutrametrix world, is as critical as any other. Wouldn't you agree with that, Lisa?
Absolutely. I mean, there's Facebook groups now that you belong, once you take the 101 and 201, to a Facebook group, and you can ask a question, it comes back to you immediately.
Yeah.
And that being said too, you should put down the Facebook group, My Favorite Things MA. It's called My Favorite Things MA. On there, there's about 60 to 70, 1 to 2 to 3, longest 5-minute presentations from a lot of healthcare professionals from our product symposiums on the products. So when I bring a healthcare professional on board, they can join that group. It's a private group. You have to be accepted. Rebecca will accept you. And then we can get our healthcare professionals trained immediately on our products and services. They're not all there, but we do have we have a lot
Yeah.
there.
That's one of the resources that we and a lot of you know about this. I know Maleva does, right? Maleva, and several of you, I know Steve does. This is where we actually recommend our team already, Lisa, to go over when they want to see nice, short, quick hitting information about our products and services. And it's controlled perfectly. I mean, you guys do a great job, Rebecca and Lisa, and whoever else that helps at controlling it, to make sure it's all effective and it's not full of a bunch of goo-gaw. So it's a great resource and great tool to have.
Yeah, believe me, anything that's on there has to be legit, because the company's made me take down anything that goes up there. So everything has been from, a lot of them from the healthcare professionals that work with the corporate team. And again, I can't emphasize enough the training.
Yeah.
Dr. D, Brandy, Sarah, unbelievably professional.
Yeah. And I believe, I don't have the date, but it's in June. Steve, do you have that written down? The June date, so I can put that on here. Do you know what it was?
I think it's the 15th and the 17th.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday night and Thursday night. They're actually doing it during the week this time, the 101 and 201 or whatever it is. And that is the to get yourself to that point of educated with the Nutrametrix division. So I love that. Thank you for that. I think you're right. I had it and it's not in front of me. So thank you, Lisa, and I'll come back to you too. Let me go to Rebecca here, because obviously Lisa went from an average, everyday, ordinary unfranchise owner and entrepreneur, and still is, but to integrate into the Nutrametrix division because she understands the business behind the program, right? And it really, when you understand the business, you can implement this really into anything. And I think that's a really important point to make. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Rebecca now. Rebecca, thanks for being on. Would you mind giving the same type of feedback, but for you, what did you do prior to Market America? And then what led you into the Market America world? And then we'll take it from there.
Okay, so I have a financial services background. I have the education that Lisa didn't get. I've got all that. So I worked for Chase Manhattan Bank, UBS, Weber. I was a senior manager at those companies, and but I always liked to learn. And so I was a securities analyst, and then I stayed home with my kids for 18 years and brought them up. And when I wanted to go back into the workforce and do something, I didn't want to go back to corporate America, didn't want to be taking the train, and long before COVID. I was just talking to a friend in the area who was telling me about a business she was looking at as a next step for her. And I said, you know what, I'll take a look at it. And that was this company. And I had one person present the business plan to me. And then I think like the next day I opened my account. So I didn't do a lot of extensive analysis, but the timing was right for me. You know, it really is all about timing and relationships. And I just happened to be at a place in my life where I was just about to go look for something, and this fell in my lap. So, you know, all about timing. And as with every aspect of the business, it's always about developing relationships and your credibility.
I love that. So when you came in, you did not come in from the Nutrametrix world then, correct? You came in as just like an unfranchised owner, is that right?
I came in as an unfranchised owner. However, my husband is a medical doctor. My brother is a medical doctor. I have a business background. I do not have a medical background. And I met Lisa, and Lisa was all about Nutrametrix. And before I even went to my first consultant training, I went to Lisa's house in Connecticut, and she taught us, Lisa, I'm sure you remember, all about Nutrametrix and the system that Nutrametrix is, and the importance of keeping it simple. So I learned that from Lisa. I implemented, and to this day, that's what we do. We keep it simple and duplicatable. And between then and now, the company has developed so many tools for the Nutrametrix consultant, for the practitioner, that we've got it all going on. We've got the system, we've got the tools. And we've got, as Lisa was saying, the professional staff behind this division developing all the tools. I mean, you're just not going to find any higher caliber people to work with than the Nutrametrix team. I believe that with all my heart.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. So Rebecca, what I'd like to do too. So when you decide, so you actually integrated and implemented Nutrametrix kind of because did you start it with your husband and go from there? Is that kind of how it started, or did you kind of?
I kind of thought that because of my husband was a practitioner, it made sense at a minimum for me to look at this division and consider it. So I went to the Nutrametrix training and I learned about it there. And it's like, you know what? I could do that. So yes, I implemented into my husband's practice first, and then just went on from there. But it's like with any division in the company, you have to learn enough about it. And what Lisa was saying, everyone should really take the TLS training and the Nutrametrix training, so and the MODIS training, so that what we have in our pocket, so that when you meet the right person for these different divisions, you can share what we have. It's not that you need to be an expert in everything, you don't, but you need to know where the tools are and know enough to have a conversation. So
yeah. No, I love that. I always tell people it's very important. It's just real simple. Know enough to be dangerous. Know enough to be able to dialogue and sound like you are educated about it, just enough to be able to then connect them to someone that they can that you can match and mirror them with. So I love that. And obviously it has grown from there. So congratulations for you. I have a couple questions, and you guys can these are some questions that we got from some people that are on here, and then I'll open it up before we wrap up here in the next probably 15 minutes or so. But couple questions. What each of you, if you wouldn't mind both answering this and however order, what is your favorite, I guess, strategies, because I'm sure there's more than one, to approach a health professional, right? Or to work to find health professionals? What is your favorite maybe approach or strategy to get an opportunity to approach? What would that be for each of you?
I could start. My favorite approach is making friends, just like I do in the regular business. And people say, where do you find healthcare professionals? Everywhere. I find them on the pickleball court. I find just by saying your answer to what is it? What do you do? I implement wellness systems in healthcare professional practices and add to their bottom line. You got to have your answer to what is it there, and people say, wow. I played pickleball this morning and a guy said to me, wow, my daughter is a PT. Is that something she could do? I said, possibly. I'll have a conversation with her and I'll let her know what we do and I'll see if it's a fit. So you need to be making friends all the time, and you need to be telling people what you do, and you need to be telling people you're expanding, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And then, like anything, you're going to qualify people, and you're going to do that by a phone call, by a Zoom. And I think my tip would be is you got to be careful not to tell them everything. You want to find out as much as you can about the practice, about the person, about if they have a family, do they have business partners in the practice? Do they sell products already? These are things they teach you in the training. So when you get on that call, because usually when you schedule a Zoom or a call, you're going to get 10 minutes, and you better be ready to, to talk quickly and get them interested quickly, because most healthcare professionals I know, especially medical doctors, are going to give you very little time to explain what you do. So you better know what you do and know a little bit more about them. Know if they may want to lead more with the money first, or they might want to lead with product first. If they want to lead with product, you better make sure maybe somebody's on the phone with you that knows a little bit about the product. You always want to tag team and have a couple people on with you. If one slips up, the other can fall back on it. Catherine Knapp and I do a great job together, as well as Rebecca and I. And I'm so grateful to have so many great leaders, because again, where I might forget something, the other picks up. But our first conversation is usually casual. We usually know a lot about that practice before we get on. And the bottom line is, I say to the healthcare professional, either you're going to embrace Nutrametrix and have a website with us to offer nutraceutical products that are science-based to your client, to your patient base, or another doctor will.
I love that. That's awesome.
That just makes sense to me. Why would they not? And I don't know if the people on this Zoom understand that an HP1 that comes in as an HP1, that means that they're not building the business right away. But I personally, and Rebecca and my team, bring on healthcare professionals as HP1s first, and we go slow with them. We get them establishing their patient base, moving product first. And then once that happens, then we can talk to them more about the business. So that's the way we start them out. They don't have to activate. They don't have to have an auto ship. They just get their website. We pick a few products for them that we feel would be necessary according to what they specialize in. We don't overwhelm them. Oh, you should have this. You should buy this. You should buy this. We picked, and they teach you this in the program, 4 to 6 products for them to start out with. The daily essentials packets are always a win-win for every practice. And then we build them a small model, and Rebecca and I are very good at not overwhelming them and taking it baby steps till they can graduate and move on to bigger and better things.
I love that. One of the most important things that I want to reiterate, as we said it earlier, and you said it there too, Lisa, is you always have, or you should always have multiple people on with you, more than just yourself, because you can, that third party, that means, because as you can see, you want to make sure that you're smooth and you're ready and you're prepared, but also it's, even leveraging third party helps bridge that gap for those of people that are newer and they have the connections. Use that third party. So awesome point, Lisa. And that was awesome. Great information. From an approach aspect for you, Rebecca, what has been your most successful ways to develop those relationships and approach the practices to get them in? By the way, that mention that you said, Lisa, if you wouldn't mind repeating that, a couple of people had asked. You said, I implement wellness systems into health, into medical practices and increase their bottom line. Is that what it was?
Yes. Yep. That's what I say. Rebecca might have a different, they give you actually several, and they role play with you during the training. But that's just what I say. You could say business solutions. I just want everyone to remember that we're not a vitamin company.
Right.
We are a business system for healthcare professionals, incorporating wellness and adding to the healthcare professionals' bottom line. One thing I do want to remember before I get off of this, nutraceuticals, the description of nutraceuticals means they are science-based. Not all supplements are created equal.
Right.
So I think as a healthcare professional, they should be responsible for carrying a line such as Nutrametrix in their practice, or just making a site available so that a patient can get a good vitamin D. Not all vitamin Ds are created equal. And right now it's been proven that if your vitamin D levels are high, that you will be able to possibly recover from an immune disorder or COVID, if your health is, your immune system is excellent.
You know, the reality of it is there's only so much we can say about that. There's a lot of legalities, and I know, as you guys can see, Lisa was hesitant there, but I can tell you my experience. I didn't even know that I had it. You know, I did some traveling finally, because after a year, I'm like, my kids need to experience life. For I guess it was just about 11 months in, and I'm like, they need to experience some stuff. I'm like, I can't live in fear anymore. We're gonna have fun, and I'm loaded up with vitamins and supplements. I feel completely confident that if I ever get exposed, I'll be fine. That was just me personally. Interestingly enough, I end up getting exposed at some place. I think it was in Georgia. You know, we traveled for like over a month with our kids and went to all over the place. But you know, I just had some discomfort. I had some headaches and some body aches. I thought I had it, but I couldn't, because I was traveling. I couldn't find a place to get tested. I got tested about 8 or 9 days after. And interestingly enough, I take a ton of, there's a phenomenal regimen that I think is just like so key to keep your immune system functioning. And that's what I was on. I can get into detail of that later. But the reality was, I was on the 9th day. I just had some headaches, body aches, and some digestive challenges. And I just thought it was because I was traveling. And Lisa was certain it was just because we were traveling. I'm like, Lisa, I feel weird. I was really tired. You know, I was really tired. And I didn't get a cough at all until like 7 or 8 days after the headache, body ache stuff. So at that point, I'm like, wait a minute, I got a little, I should probably go get tested, because we were in a camper. We were in an RV, and I'm like, we got 4 people with me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to find out if we have to be careful with everybody else. Well, I ended up getting tested for both an Insta test and a lab sent in test, instant and lab sent. They both came back negative, but the doctor did say, listen, if you have an optimally functioning immune system and it's been 9 days, you probably have kicked it already, and you're not going to show as a positive result at this point with what happened. So you may have had it. We can't tell. But when you go home, if you want to know if you had it or not, they said you probably just have seasonal allergies and you ate something, right? And it just made all the same type of responses. That's how it was. But I was skeptical about that, but I kicked the crap out of it. I came home about a month after I got my antibody test, and they're like, oh, you're loaded up with antibodies. You definitely had it at some point in the last few months. So all I can say is my experiences was nobody in my family got it. Nobody. And we were in a 300 square foot trailer. I must have had it because obviously I had the antibodies. I had it. And yet, because of the amount of stuff I had, maybe, I don't know what the deal is, but maybe I wasn't as catchy.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing.
And nobody else got it because they're all loaded up with the vitamins too. So listen, I'm a big advocate, and I do have a doctor that said they're doing a lot more testing of vitamin D levels of people that end up getting hospitalized. And it is tremendous. It is like, I can't remember what the percentage was, so I don't want to quote it, but it was upwards of like 80 plus and 90+% or whatever of people that get hospitalized with viral challenges, essentially have D levels under 30. So, you know, to me, let's just load up D and have our zincs, and we have a great chance. And again, I've been way sicker with other things for sure, like way sicker with flus and things when I was young. This was just a minor inconvenience, and don't get me wrong, some people don't get it bad, but I mean,
you want to be real careful about that with healthcare professionals.
Agreed.
I just say that I think we're much more aware today that it's really important, more now than ever, to keep your immune system strong. But we do have to be real careful about ever mentioning COVID, because we've also heard stories of people that were healthy that got very sick. So, but common sense does tell you a very strong immune system is going to be good for you no matter what the case.
It's going to make your risk factors better. That's the bottom line. Right. So go ahead, Rebecca. We got
so I just want to reiterate some of what Lisa said, because she really hit on everything. I mean, for me, it's really all about, and certainly Lisa and I do this with the practitioners initially, it's all about building relationships, whether it's on the pickleball court or on the ski mountain or wherever it is, in the grocery store, wherever it is you go and you meet people. But everybody has a number of practitioners that they see on some kind of regular, even if it's virtual. Everybody's got the referrals. So, your regular business owners, every single one of them have practitioners who may or may not be interested, but they each have a referral network. Now, today, practitioners, a lot of them are working for healthcare systems instead of, we're really looking for the individual practitioner or, a relatively small practice, not one that's been bought up by a large healthcare system, because it would take you 12 years to get through their various boards for approval. So we look for the smaller ones. And what we're saying is not only building the relationship, because it may be about them, but it may not be about them. And, who do you know in your referral network who's looking to add something to the bottom line? I mean, no matter what practice I look at, you can look at charts of different kinds of practitioners. They are all bringing in ancillary services, and they're bringing them in because they need to add revenue to the bottom line. Because when healthcare went to all of these different, when insurance changed and all of these different practitioners started getting paid less and less for the different procedures and that they're doing, they need to do something because their costs didn't go down. In fact, their costs went up because now they have to refile 5 times to get $20. So, either they are interested, or as Lisa said, somebody that they know is going to be interested. So you're asking the practitioner, who do you know that's looking to expand what they're doing, add something to their bottom line. The other thing that I always do, and Lisa said, research before you talk to them. We're only asking them for like 5-10 minutes to start so that we can build some rapport to see if they want to learn more. And then we're sending them information online. But what we're doing is looking at their website. So I am always finding out what is the practitioner's website. I'm looking at who is it that works there, who are the gatekeepers, who's like the office manager, what kinds of things are they highlighting. You could see there whether they have another supplement line, whether they have something for sale. But, I am bringing on practitioners who are not local at all. And, so everything is via Zoom, via phone calls, and it works. And starting out with a few 3-4 products, and starting out with things before I'm getting on the phone with them that first time. I know what they are focusing on, and I know what they are likely to be interested in. They may be interested in other things, but I at least have those few things in mind for a conversation with them.
Thank you for that. That's great info. One of the things I do want to share too, and as you mentioned something, Rebecca, that struck something with me because it happened recently in my team, is that I am like, as you said, and I know Lisa is, we always look for those practices that are either privately owned or smaller practices where they have that flexibility to make their decisions. But one of the things that happened that I point out to some of those larger practices that have been bought out is I found a really interesting way to bring up the business to those doctors that have been bought out, because they're in a different, unique situation too, where they wouldn't be able to implement Nutrametrix into their practice that was bought out. However, there's a side approach that I've found that has been radically effective, and it's tremendously built me great relationships, and I have a lot of great unfranchise owners from it. And this is what happened. And I tell the story. I have a doctor that was a Nutrametrix unfranchise owner, and then he ended up selling his practice to a large a hospital, a large medical system. But he kept his Nutrametrix business, he kept his unfranchise essentially active, although he wasn't permitted to continue the implementation within that practice right away. One of our doctors said, I'll sell it as you can buy it as long as you allow me to offer and continue to offer the TLS programs. And that was a condition of the sale. So that happened. But the interesting thing about the one that wasn't allowed to do it is that a year and a half after they acquired his practice, right, they closed his practice down. Ooh. A year and a half after they acquired his practice, he was still the doctor, but they closed his practice down to reduce costs and merge all those patients into one separate practice. He was stuck, although he got bought out, he had no more salary left, but he had his Nutrametrix business. He had something on the side that he was able to use his credibility as a health professional and continue to build that business outside of his practice, independent of the patient base he has there, to the people that were not normal or traditional patients in there. So it's a little more, I would say, a little more complex kind of conversation, but it is a major thing that some of these health professionals that got bought out, it would be smart to me for them that don't have full control anymore to have something on the side. Lisa, have you had that experience too?
Yeah, I mean, there's all different types of experiences and things that come out of things. So you never give up. You just keep networking, you keep talking to people and asking for referrals and build relationships. You know, a doctor is a doctor. I used to be afraid of doctors. You know, I was like, oh, and I find out they're just people.
Just people.
And they, you know, the ones that want to get help and the ones that want to learn the information will learn it. And the ones that don't will not, or you can say, maybe the timing's not right for you now, Mr. Doctor, but Doctor whoever, but can I follow up with you in 6 months, 2 years, because things change.
Yeah.
So that's something else I want to mention. I think we should open it up to your people because they.
Yeah, I know we only have about 5 minutes left, and a lot of these questions are there. So there was one other one that they had, and then I'll open it for a question too, because I know we have to wrap this up. So oftentimes people come up with a question that happens with particularly chiropractors and kind of PTs and things like that already have access to offer products and services. Sometimes when they look at us at a glance, they say, well, this retail profit is not what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. How do you address that? I know how I do, but I want to see how you guys address it.
All right, and they're going to teach you that in the training because that's going to come up.
Yep.
But we have to, again, go back to that we're a business system and that there is additional ways to make income with this. And the retail profit is really, really a small part of what we do. And that we have something that no other company in the world has. So if they're open to finding out more information, we will share with them the Market America business system at another conversation. So we are not just we are, you know, there's so many of them, Designs by Health. There's so many healthcare professional practices. And they got to understand that we're different and that we're willing to educate them on what we are and what we're not. There's actually some great slides that the company provides that shows what we offer compared to just a wholesale retail base.
I want to add one thing, Don, to that, because a related question I think that people get is that I already have a supplement company that I work with. Why would I be interested in Nutrametrix? And, you know, I would say that no supplement company has everything and that we can fill in the gaps where the other program falls short.
Awesome point. Awesome point. So true. I've done that. That's a great way. Once you're in the doing, you build that relationship. It evolves over time for sure. Thank you for that. Great stuff. All right. So real quickly, Rhonda, why don't you, Rhonda, if you have a question you'd like to ask your blaring one. And by the way, if we don't get to all the questions, we can send them over and get them addressed and get it back to you. But go ahead, Rhonda, and then Steve, and then we'll wrap up. We can only take 2, and then we got to get off here for the timing that we promised. So go ahead, Rhonda.
Just want to confirm the semantics of it. With the Nutrametrix, it's exclusive. They have to essentially submit credentials to be able to do this line, correct?
Yes.
So that's a big point with them, that they can provide something that another brand possibly could not. This is an exclusive to them.
And they get a website also with Nutrametrix.
Great, thank you.
There is a list too in the back office. Once you go through the training, there is a list of healthcare professionals that qualify. If that healthcare professional is questionable, they do a case-by-case study.
Okay. Thank you.
So,
Awesome. Thank you for that. Steve, wrap us up. You're the last questioner, question asker, but you are muted, so that won't help.
Actually, to be honest with you, I think the information you provided was top shelf. Not only was it from the nutrition side, but from a business coaching approach as well. That you are truly approaching this and from the perspective of helping the doctor be as successful as he can be. And I would rather yield my time to Rhonda because in case she has more questions she wants to ask, because my head is between Rhonda and her getting involved more than questions about Nutrametrix itself. So Rhonda, I'll give it to you if you want.
One more if you got it, then we'll wrap up.
It was just interesting the way you just described the business, because that you 100% defined my business is helping them. They're getting $20 for $100 visit and they're going in the hole. So it's just, I've got a neat position I'm in where I'm already in the door doing the other things with them. I just need to make that transition.
I think you're in an awesome spot.
One
But
of the best
everything needs to be coordinated and all that kind of cool stuff. Those are detailed. But
to me, Rhonda, if God made something that fit perfectly alongside of what you do now, that would be
There it is.
Nutrametrix. That's my vision because it's just such a perfect fit. I mean, this,
It is.
it doesn't
and
have to
that's true. And Rhonda, just stay confident in what you have to offer. And you can go through 10 of them that will say no to you or for whatever reason. And you just cannot lose your confidence. Just remember that some of them you speak to may say no, or you don't know what's going on in their lives. But if you know what you're talking about, I've had healthcare professionals come back to me and say,
Oh yeah.
I said no to you before, but funny, patients are asking me about this isotonic product you spoke about, so I'd like to revisit it.
yeah,
Right.
Here you go.
Well, thank
Right.
you guys for being on. I did promise
Thank
Lisa
you.
and Rebecca we'd wrap up now. And let me make a point on that you just said, just as a last thought. One of the ways that in fact, Dr. Mike Shamfeld, a lot of you guys know him. The reason why he able to be integrated, he's a chiropractor and he had utilized products and services on and off that never really sold very well. You know, he's like, this is just another whatever. And I said, I'll tell you what, let's just test this out. I'm going to bring in 2 or 3 of our most popular products. I'm going to consign them up and put them on your shelf because he had nothing on his shelf that he had for his products before. He had nothing. I said, I'm going to put in, I think it was 2 OPC, 2 B complexes, and I think the joint health formula. I can't remember what it was, or maybe glucosatrin or something. And I said, I'm going to put things up there. And if you sell them, here's the information. Here's the pamphlets on it. If you end up bringing them up and selling them, we can just work out an agreement from there starting. And literally the first week he called me and he said, Don, I sold 4 of those 6 products, but here's the interesting thing. I didn't even bring it up. They saw it and they said, oh my goodness, you have OPC. I want that. My person I used to get it from, I can't get it from anymore because I moved or they don't offer whatever. He said, I'm in, let's get started. Let's get rolling. So another way, there's so many ways. I mean, we just touched on some, but I appreciate you guys being on. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much, Rebecca. We'll see you guys soon. We'll see you live in Greensboro, right?
Yes.
Come on. And thank you guys all for being on. Much appreciated. And looking forward to watching all the success continue to evolve with not only Nutrametrix, but with the entire business across the world as we have a lot of solutions to the problems that are out there. So
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us, Don.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.